Hello, welcome back to Your Relationship with You, and we are back to talk about dating mindset part 4. Okay, part 4. I've talked about the mindset of what it looks like to be a Christian, to date, to aspire to marriage, to desire marriage, all of those types of things. And it's time to talk about what God gave me concerning what to look for and what to be as a husband, as a wife, and what the character traits should look like when you're kind of weaving through the folks and the things. You understand? So, God gave me this list a couple months ago, and I have been kind of slow to talk about it because it's been something that has been very tender for me. But as I continue to just like step more into faith and and believe the promises of God and believe His word, I'm becoming more and more concrete in my belief and in my faith concerning what He's told me I will have. So this video is going to be a little bit long because we're going to really talk about the things, okay? We're going to talk about, we're going to go to the book of Ruth, and I think you all are going to really enjoy this because it's a good old-fashioned Bible study, and this is what God gave me. And I encourage you guys to comment anything that God is revealing to you as we go through this. Like, leave me a comment. Let's talk about it. Let's have a little dialogue. Okay. So, I'm gonna start with the very beginning of Ruth, and I'm gonna stop as I go. Okay. This is, Ruth is a very short book. It's only 4 chapters, and so we're just gonna dive in. Okay. And I'm reading from the King James version. So, and it came to pass in the days when judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. So they were from the tribe of Ephraim, okay, which was, one of Ephraim was one of Joseph's sons from Egyptian heritage. Their mama was an Egyptian. So, anyways, and they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab, and the name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. Verse 5. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So remember, there was a famine in the land. Naomi and her husband and their 2 kids go. They stay there for a minute. They adapt, to their environment, and they start picking wives for their sons. So both their sons get married. One was Orpah, one was Ruth. But then after some time, both the sons die. So now Naomi came into the land with her husband and 2 sons. Everybody she came with is dead, and now she got these 2 daughter-in-laws that's left. Okay. Verse 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. So remember, there was a famine. That's the only reason why they ever left. They needed to go find some food. But then they heard that, we got some food back in my home country. Let me go back home. Verse 7. Wherefore she went out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on their way to return unto the land of Judah. Naomi said unto her daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. So she's giving them a blessing, like, y'all don't have to return with me. Go back to y'all mother's house. Y'all husbands is dead, you know, till death do us part. So y'all can go on about y'all business. And may God do y'all good, because y'all did me good with the death of my sons, y'all husbands. Verse 9. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed both of them and lifted up their voice, and they wept. So they really loved their mother-in-law. They had already lost so much. So, you know, grief can bond you with people, right? And so verse 10, and they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. They like, we going with you. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that I may that may be your husband? Because in Jewish tradition, if the husband died before there were kids produced, then the brother would then marry that wife to continue on the brother's line and produce a child. And so she's like, I don't have no more sons. All I had was them two. They was already grown. Now I'm old. My husband's dead. Like, I don't have no way of getting pregnant. I don't have no son for y'all. Go on and get y'all some other husbands. Verse 12. Turn again, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, will you tarry for them till they are grown? Will you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieved me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. It's funny how grief can cause us to think that God is against us, that God is unfair to us, that God wants anything but good for us. Like, and that's a study for a different day. But don't let your heart get hardened, and don't let grief cause you to misidentify who God is. I'll just leave that there. Verse 14, they lifted up their voice and wept again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after thy sister-in-law. Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee, for whither thou goest I will go, and whither thou lodgest I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, thy God shall be my God. Ruth was not leaving. Ruth is like, I don't care what Orpah did, good for her, she can go on back to her folks. But as for me, I'm staying with you. I'm staying wherever you about to go and be at, wherever you lay your head, I'm gonna lay my head. Your God gonna be my God, your people gonna be my people. Like, forget everything that's happening in Moab. I'm about to come over here with y'all. Okay? Verse 17. Where thou diest, I will die, and where there thou was buried, so will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So she made a covenant with Ruth. Now Ruth made a covenant with Naomi to say nothing but death would keep me from it. That's where they got that line from. Anywho, 18. When she saw that she was steadfast minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, and all the city was moved about them, and they said, is this Naomi? So, you know, she had been gone, right? And like, now she's come home, and everybody's like, you know, talking about, oh my God, Naomi's back, right? Verse 20, and she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. So again, grief has caused her to be bitter. Has caused her to be bitter. I went out full, and the Lord have brought me home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing that the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? Jesus, I'm gonna have to get into this. Maybe our next video we're gonna talk about heartache, and we're gonna get into it. Anyways, but today is about dating. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Okay, so they're in this harvest season, which is good to me if you're in a space of understanding that you've been planting seeds. They arrive at harvest season. God is good. All right, this is chapter 2 now. So Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. Right? So, a worthy man, mighty, wealthy, a man of standing, a man of influence, a man of great power. That's the type of man I want. That's the type of man that God says I can have. Right? Not only that, like, and we'll keep going, but that was the description of him. He was a mighty man of wealth. And when I looked up what mighty man meant, it gave me all of the rest of these, like that he's a man of good standing, influential, a great power. Like, he's a stand up man. Okay, so that's one takeaway I want y'all to have. Verse 2. And Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, let me go into the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. Verse 3. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hap was too light on a part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was the kindred of Elimelech. So Ruth went to the family, the family of Elimelech, which is her father-in-law, her family, her extended family. They owned land, and she's like, let me go work and get us some food, right? And so verse 4, and behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless thee. So they just greeting each other, saying hi. Verse 5, then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is that? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, this is the Moabitess damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And so another part about this, that for one, Naomi was handling business, right? She wasn't looking for no man. She was trying to make sure that she was serving her mother-in-law and making sure that they had provision. She was working. She was focused on the task at hand, on being honorable to not only, her mother-in-law, but being honorable to herself. She didn't go down there looking for no man. She went down there being about her business. So again, when we talk about a dating mindset, like, you need to be worried about your business. What has God set out for you to do? What is your ministry? What has he placed on your heart to accomplish? Like, that needs to be a part of your process in dating, is making sure that you're about your Father's business. Like, you will be found doing what God has told you to do. A man that findeth the wife findeth a good thing. So you will be presented to your husband as Eve was presented to Adam, but you need to be doing what you're supposed to do as a woman. According to Proverbs 31, you need to handle your business. So that's what Naomi was doing. So, that's what Ruth was doing, excuse me. So not only do you have to, identify a worthy man, but you also need to be a worthy woman about your business. All right. Also, I made note that a man that takes note and interest, a man that is interested will make note and inquire about you. You don't have to be, flaunting yourself out. You don't need to do none of that. Like, a man that is interested in you, that you've caught his eye, he's going to inquire about you. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to be loud, boisterous, all the extra. Like, it's going to be okay, right? He's going to take notice if he's supposed to take notice. Okay. So that's that. Then, verse 7. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and have continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. So again, Boaz and the menfolk are having this conversation about Ruth, and he's giving a report of how she came to come there. Verse 8. Then said Boaz to Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go into the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Another thing, the man that God has for you, he will automatically have a protective nature over you. He will automatically have a protective nature over you. He told her, like, don't trip. You ain't gotta go nowhere else. Like, go ahead and get your food here at my field. You know, my men folk are gonna look after you. You ain't gotta worry about nothing. The other women are, doing their harvest as well. So just stay near them. They know the ropes. They're gonna show you what to do. Don't even trip. Like, that's what he was saying to her. And I'm sorry that I have to put my own little, but that's how God be speaking to me, right? Another thing, sometimes as strong women, and I'll speak for myself, I don't know if this applies to you, as strong women, we can not take direction well. We can take directive from a man very, it can go left. It can go left real fast. And one thing God spoke to me is that the voice of your husband will be able to give you directive, and you'll be able to follow it with ease. You'll be able to follow it with ease. And that's also something that is being pulled out. And I encourage you all to pray about your ear of instruction, especially when it comes to men. If you have a hard time taking instruction from men, then that's something that you need to be in prayer about. Because as women, we are to submit to our own husbands. And if he can't give you directive, then that may not be your husband. Or you may not be a wife yet. So, all right. Making sure I got my little notes. All right. Also, he will honor you instantly. And he will give you access to that which is his. He will give you access to that which is his. Now, of course, all things in due season. I'm not expecting, my husband to just automatically, be out and about, offering me all these different things up front, because then you may want to look at him like, but I do believe that he'll be generous in nature. He'll be generous in nature, which is what Boaz was. He was generous in nature. Okay. All right. Then she fell down on her face, bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldst take knowledge of me, seeing that I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed to me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of her husband, and how you have left your father and mother, and have come to the land of thy nativity, and art come up upon a people which thou knowest not before. And so he will, like, because you'll be about your business, like your honor, your character, your character will speak for you, and that's what will attract your husband. Like, yes, your beauty on the outside is all good and all dandy, but like when you're doing what God has called you to do, it positions you to be presented to the right type of man. And when you're doing what you're supposed to do, your character will be displayed, and that will draw him more into you. So again, make sure that you're handling your business, because that will put you in position to be found by your husband. Okay. Verse 12. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord of Israel, under whose wings thou hast come to trust. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, O my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thy handmaiden, though I be not like unto one of thy own handmaidens. And Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip the morsel in vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parchment corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed and left. Another part, men that are interested will invite you into their presence. You don't have to, again, bogart yourself in. You don't have to invite yourself. Like, if he's interested in you, then he will invite you to his space. And I know some of this is very, like, elementary for some of y'all, but for some of us, it's like, no, you need to understand you don't have to make your presence known. Your character will make your presence known. Your work for God will make your presence known. And He will, once He sees that, He will invite you into His presence. Okay? All right, 15. When she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded the young man, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not, and let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So again, he's generous in nature. Like, he's protective of her. He's generous. He's looking out for her. He's having provision for her. Like, he's making himself available to her. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. So it was a pretty good amount that she had earned that day. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her all that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where did thou glean today, and where wrouldest thou go? Be blessed that he did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, that man named with whom I wrought this day was Boaz. So of course her mother is asking, what you do today? Where was you at? How did you get all this food? And she's like, I was at the man's field named Boaz, that, and he, worked some things out for me. And so verse 20, and Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who has not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin to us, one of our next kinsmen. So Naomi is filling Ruth in a little bit more about Boaz. Like, well, this is who he is. He's the kinsman of my husband. Like, he kinfolk. And Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, that thou shalt keep fast by the young men until they have ended all of my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou shalt go with the maidens, and they meet thee not in another field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of the barley harvest and of the wheat harvest, and dwell with her mother-in-law. So they spend a little bit of time together, because they had to get this harvest together. Harvest is not necessarily a quick process, so it took a few. Actually, I don't say exactly how long it took, but they was together with both the barley harvest and the wheat harvest. So chapter 3. Then Naomi her mother-in-law said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whom's handmaidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley to the night in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiments on thee, and get thee down to the floor, but make not thyself known unto man until he have done eating and drinking. And this was just a little bit of wisdom, right? A lot of times our timing as women has to be right when we approaching our men folk. Like, we got to make sure our timing is right, and then things can be absorbed a lot easier. Like, if they're distracted, or if they hungry, or they frustrated, or they tired, or whatever, most often we're not going to get our point across. We're not going to be able to communicate in a way that they can receive it. So this was just a good piece of wisdom from a seasoned woman to the younger woman, and I'm taking that on as well. Verse 4, and it shall be when he lieth down, and thou shalt mark the place where he lie, and that shall go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. So she was given instruction, and she gonna follow the instruction, right? She was told to make sure he eat and drink. When he's done for the night, go in, lay at his feet, and make yourself, like, present yourself, right? Verse 6, and she went down into the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaiden, for thou art a nearest kinsman. So again, in Jewish culture, the nearest, like it normally would have been a brother, but whoever is the nearest kinsman can then marry the widow of the family, so that the line can continue of the deceased, because she didn't have any children with her husband. He died before they had children, right? So she's petitioning him to, like, if he's interested in fulfilling that role, right? And so um verse 10, and he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in this later end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether rich nor poor. So he was actually flattered, because he's like, you could have had a little young man, but you after me, and I'm flattered by that. And so, and now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people does know that thou art a virtuous woman. So again, her reputation has spread. Like, people are talking about her in rooms that she has not entered. God is good. And her reputation is saying that she's a virtuous woman. So not only is he flattered by her showing interest in him, but he's also like, yeah, because of your reputation, like, let's work this thing out, right? Verse 12, and now it is true that I am a near kinsman. However, there is a kinsman nearer than I. So he's like, I'm not the appropriate person at this moment. I got to go clear some things up. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that it will be performed unto thee the part of a kinsman. Let him do to the kinsman part, but if he will not do the kinsman part to thee, then will I do the kinsman part to thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until morning. And she laid at his feet until morning, and she rose before one could know one another. And he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. And also he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and he went into the city. So another thing about his character, right? It says that they rose before they could have sex. When it says that they know each other, like, they kept their relationship pure until the matter could be settled if they were going to be married or not. Like, they did not take that opportunity because they were alone. It's nighttime. They could have gotten in, and they was like, no, this is not what it is. Like, he was an honorable man. She was a virtuous woman, and they kept it that way. So that was one part. Second part, a man of God that's serious about you is going to settle the matter quickly. Like, he said, as soon as he knew that she's interested, he's like, well, let me go handle this business with the other family member, make sure that he's not trying to assert his position, because he has, the first position to fulfill this role. And if he's not gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it. You ain't even got a trip. And he did that the very next morning, right? So he's also going to be a man about his word. If he say he gonna do it, then he gonna do it. If he not, right? But that's a character trait that I think is very much appropriate when figuring out who it is that you're about to give your affections to. Okay. Verse 16. And when it came, another part, again, he's a generous man. So not only did he make sure that he protected her virtue by making sure, make sure that nobody see you. We don't need nobody getting the wrong idea, thinking that we did something that we did not do. I want to protect your virtue and make sure that your reputation remains untouched. So he's going to be consistent and thoughtful about who you are and your reputation. He's also going to be generous in nature towards you. He's also going to be an honorable man about his word. Okay. And it came to pass, verse 16, and when she came to her mother-in-law, who said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley he gave me. And he said, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. And she And she said, sit still, my daughter, thou hast until thou know how the matter will fall, and the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. So I thought it was also very important that she, sought the wisdom of someone more, more knowledgeable than her. Like, it's okay to have a mentor that knows a thing or two. Like, don't allow yourself to be arrogant to think that, oh, I didn't date it before, I know how this whole thing works, because she had already been married, she had already been there, done that. But it's like, this is a new environment. You're not in your old, space. You're not in your old country. Like, this is something new, and you're dealing with a whole different type of man. So don't be afraid to, like, seek a little mentoring. I think that's okay. So chapter 4. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat down, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, hold such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and they sat down. And when he said to the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, sells a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's, and I thought to advise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of the people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must also buy it of Ruth of the Moabites, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem it, though thou my right to thee, for I cannot redeem it. So, Boaz is handling business with the other family member, and the other family member is saying, you know what, if I buy that and mess with, Ruth, then I'm gonna mess with my own inheritance, and I can't really do that. So you go ahead and take it. It's all yours. I'm out. And so, verse 7. Now this was the manner in formal times of Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucketh off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said to Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And again, he got witnesses, he got the contract, like, this is what it is. Verse 9. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have brought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead shall not be cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and of the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the women that is come unto thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the nation of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore of Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So again, he's just like, people are blessing their union, saying that, let it be like let y'all have tons of kids like Leah and Rachel, and build up this nation, and let it be just like with Judah and Tamar, who had a similar situation where they needed to procreate for the name of the dead. Verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said to Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which have not left this day without a kinsman, and a name may be famous in Israel. And he said unto and he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life. Excuse me, I can't speak. Excuse me, y'all. Verse 15. And he shall be a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age, for thy daughter in law which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons have bore him. And Naomi took the child and laid it on her bosom and became a nurse unto it. And the women her neighbors gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. I love that. And these are the generation of Pharez. Pharez begot Hezron. Hezron begot Ram. Ram begot Abinadab. And Abinadab begot Nahshon. Nahshon begot Salem. Salem begot Boaz. Boaz begot Obed. And Obed Jesse. And Jesse begot David. So Ruth is the grandmother of David, King David. So, a few more of my little points, and then I'll wrap this up. And I hope this was not too dragging for y'all, because it really blessed me, and I hope that it's blessing you all as well. But I also put that, your husband deserves, your husband deserves a willing wife. Okay, a wife that is cooperative and submissive. So one thing that I noticed, every directive that Boaz gave to Ruth, she took it. She clearly trusted his leadership. She trusted in his intention towards her. And so your husband deserves your cooperation and your willingness and submission. You must be a worthy woman above reproach. Again, she had a reputation of being a virtuous woman. Like she was new. She was a Moabite. Like she was not, like her people were not like of a good reputation. So she had some things working against her. And the fact that everybody in the town had something good to say about her spoke very highly of her. Like, you should be a woman of good reputation and solid character. Again, your husband will cover your reputation. He will handle matters quickly concerning you. He will publicly declare his intentions for you, and whatever that means publicly for y'all, because of course, like, we live in the age of, if it ain't on Facebook, it ain't real. If y'all not official on social media, it ain't real. And that's not what I'm talking about. But like, the people that y'all know, that y'all are around, if they don't know about y'all, then look into that. And then he will pray for me. Okay. And so that's what I got from Ruth, and how you're supposed to conduct yourself, the character of the man that you're supposed to have. And I pray that this, gives you some insight on what it looks like to be, in a godly courtship and marriage. Okay, because that's my goal. I pray that that's your goal as well. All right, so that's what I got for y'all right now. Y'all be blessed, be a blessing to others. Get my book, Your Relationship with You. It is available at the link in my description. Y'all be blessed, be a blessing to others. Talk to y'all later. Bye.